Dibrey, ha'Yamim2, 2Chronicles, chapter 25. Amatsyahu was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. And the name of his mother was Adon of Jerusalem. And he did what was right in the eyes of Yahuah, but not with a perfect heart. And it came to be upon his strong control of the reign that he slew his servants who had smitten his father the sovereign. But he did not put their children to death, but did as it is written in the Torah in the book of Moshe, where Yahuah commanded, saying, Fathers are not put to death for their children, and children are not put to death for their fathers, but each one has to die for his own sin. And Amatsyahu gathered Yahudah and appointed over them commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, according to the fathers' houses, for all Yahudah and Benjamin. And he registered them from 20 years old and above, and found them to be 300,000 choice men going out to the army, handling spear and shield. And he hired 100,000 mighty brave ones from Israel for 100 kikars of silver. But a man of Elohim came to him, saying, O sovereign, do not let the army of Israel go with you, for Yahuah is not with Israel, with all the children of Ephraim. But if you are going, do it. Be strong in battle, or Elohim would make you fall before the enemy, for Elohim has power to help and to overthrow. And Amatsyahu said to the man of Elohim, But what do we do about the 100 kikars which I have given to the army of Israel? And the man of Elohim answered, Yahuah has more to give you than this. So Amatsyahu dismissed the army that had come to him from Ephraim to go back home, and they were greatly enraged against Yahudah, and they returned home in a rage. And Amatsyahu strengthened himself and led his people and went to the valley of Salt and smote 10,000 of the sons of Seir. And the sons of Yahudah took captive another 10,000 alive, and they brought them to the top of the rock and threw them down from the top of the rock, and all of them were dashed to pieces. And the soldiers of the army which Amatsyahu had sent back from going with him to battle, they raided the cities of Yahudah from Shamaron to Beth Horon, and smote 3,000 in them, and took much spoil. And it came to be, after Amatsyahu came from smiting the Edomites, that he brought the mighty ones of the people of Seir, and stood them up to be his mighty ones, and bowed down before them, and burned incense to them. Therefore the displeasure of Yahuah burned against Amatsyahu, and he sent him a Nevi, who said to him, Why have you sought the mighty ones of the people, which did not deliver their own people from your hand? And it came to be, as he talked with him, that the sovereign said to him, Have we appointed you counselor to the sovereign? Stop! Why should they smite you? Then the Nevi stopped and said, I know that Elohim has counseled to destroy you, because you have done this and have not listened to my counsel. And Amatsyahu, sovereign of Yahudah, took counsel and sent to Yoash, son of Jehoahaz, son of Yahu, sovereign of Yisrael, saying, Come, let us look each other in the face. And Yoash, sovereign of Yisrael, sent to Amatsyahu, sovereign of Yahudah, saying, The thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, Give your daughter to my son as wife. And a wild beast that was in Lebanon passed by and trampled the thistle. You have said, See, I have smitten Edom, and your heart has lifted you up to boast. Now stay at home. Why should you stir up yourself to evil, that you should fall, you and Yahudah with you? But Amatsyahu did not listen, for it came from Elohim, in order to give them into the hand of their enemies, because they had sought the mighty ones of Edom. So Yoash, sovereign of Yisrael, went out, and he and Amatsyahu, sovereign of Yahudah, faced one another at Beth Shemesh, which belongs to Yahudah. And Yahudah was smitten before Yisrael, and they each fled to his tent. And Yoash, sovereign of Yisrael, caught Amatsyahu, sovereign of Yahudah, son of Yoash, son of Jehoahaz, at Beth Shemesh, and brought him to Jerusalem, and broke down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate, 400 amah, and took all the gold and the silver and all the utensils that were found in the house of Elohim with Obed-Edom, and the treasures of the sovereign's house and hostages, and returned to Shamaron. And Amatsyahu, son of Yoash, sovereign of Yahudah, lived 15 years after the death of Yoash, son of Jehoiahaz, sovereign of Yisrael. And the rest of the acts of Amatsyahu, from the first to the last, see, are they not written in the book of the sovereigns of Yahudah and Yisrael? And from the time that Amatsyahu turned away from following Yahuah, they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish, and they sent after him to Lachish and killed him there. And they brought him on horses and buried him with his fathers in the city of Yahudah. Dibrey ha'Yamim2, 2Chronicles chapter 26. And all the people of Yahudah took Uzziyahu, who was 16 years old, and appointed him to reign instead of his father Amatsyahu. He built Eloah and restored it to Yahudah after the sovereign slept with his fathers. Uzziyahu was 16 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Yah of Jerusalem. And he did what was right in the eyes of Yahweh, according to all that his father Amatsyahu did. And he sought Elohim in the days of Zechariah, who had understanding in the visions of Elohim. And while he sought Yahuah, Elohim made him prosper. And he went out and fought against the Palestinites, and broke down the wall of Gath, and the wall of Yevneh, and the wall of Ashdod, and built cities around Ashdod and among the Palestinites. And Elohim helped him against the Palestinites and against the Arabians who lived in Gerbal, and the Meunites. And the Ammonites gave gifts to Uzziyahu, and his name spread as far as the entrance of Mitzrayim, for he strengthened himself greatly. And Uzziyahu built towers in Jerusalem at the corner gate, and at the valley gate, and at the corner buttress, and strengthened them. And he built towers in the wilderness, and dug many wells, for he had much livestock, both in the low country and in the plain, farmers and vine dressers in the mountains and in Carmel, for he loved the soil. And Uzziah had an army of fighting men who went out to battle by divisions, according to the number on their roll, as prepared by Yael the scribe, and Amatsyahu the officer, under the hand of Hananiah, one of the sovereign's commanders. The total number of the clan chiefs of the mighty brave ones was 2,600. And under their hand was an army of 307,500 that fought with mighty power to help the sovereign against the enemy. And Uzziyahu prepared for them, for the entire army, shields and spears and helmets and body armor and bows and sling stones. And he made machines in Jerusalem, devised by skilled men, to be on the towers and the corners, to shoot arrows and large stones. And his name spread far and wide, for he was marvelously helped till he became strong. But when he became strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction, for he trespassed against Yahuah his Elohim by entering the Heikel of Yahuah to burn incense on the altar of incense. And Azariah the Kohen went in after him, and with him were 80 Kohanim of Yahuah, who were brave men. And they stood up against sovereign Uzziyahu and said to him, "It is not for you, Uzziyahu, to burn incense to Yahuah, but for the Kohanim, the sons of Aharon, who are Kodesh, to burn incense. Get out of the Mikdash, for you have trespassed, and there is no esteem to you from Yahuah Elohim." And Uzziyahu was wroth, and he had a censer in his hand to burn incense. And while he was wroth with the Kohanim, leprosy broke out on his forehead before the Kohanim in the house of Yahuah, beside the incense altar. And Azariah the chief Kohen and all the Kohanim looked at him and saw that he was leprous on his forehead, and they hurried him from there. And he also hurried to get out, because Yahuah had struck him. And sovereign Uzziyahu was a leper until the day of his death, and dwelt in a separate house, because he was a leper, for he was cut off from the house of Yahuah. And Yotham his son was over the sovereign's house, ruling the people of the land. And the rest of the acts of Uzziyahu, from the first to the last, the Nevi Yeshayahu the son of Amoz wrote. So Uzziyahu slept with his fathers, and they buried him with his fathers in the field of burial, which belonged to the sovereigns, for they said, "He is a leper." And Yotham his son reigned in his place. Divrei ha'Yamim2, 2 Chronicles chapter 27. Yotham was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Yahusha, the daughter of Zadok. And he did what was right in the eyes of Yahuah, according to all that his father Uzziyahu had done. Only he did not come into the Hekel of Yahuah, and the people continued to act corruptly. He built the upper gate of the house of Yahuah, and he built much on the wall of Ophel. And he built cities in the hill country of Yahudah, and in the forests he built palaces and towers. And he fought with the sovereign of the Ammonites and prevailed over them. And the children of Ammon gave him in that year 100 kikars of silver and 10,000 cores of wheat and 10,000 of barley. This is what the children of Ammon paid him also in the 2nd and 3rd years. And Yotham strengthened himself, for he prepared his ways before Yahuah his Elohim. And the rest of the acts of Yotham and all his battles and his ways, see, they are written in the book of the sovereigns of Yisrael and Yahudah. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. So Yotham slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David, and his son Ahaz reigned in his place. Dibrey ha'Yamim2, 2Chronicles chapter 28. Ahaz was 20 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And he did not do what was right in the eyes of Yahuah, as his father David had done, and walked in the ways of the sovereigns of Yisrael, and made molded images for the Baals. And he himself burned incense in the valley of Ben Hinnom, and burned his children in the fire, according to the abominations of the Gentiles, whom Yahuah dispossessed from before the children of Yisrael, and slaughtered and burned incense on the high places, and on the hills, and under every green tree. Therefore Yahuah his Elohim gave him into the hand of the sovereign of Aram, and they smote him, and took many of them away as captives, and brought them to Damascus. And he was also given into the hand of the sovereign of Yisrael, who smote him with a great smiting. And Pekach, son of Ramalyahu, slew 120,000 in Yahudah in one day, all brave men, because they had forsaken Yahuah Elohim of their fathers. And Zichri, a mighty man of Ephraim, slew Amatsyahu, son of the sovereign, and Ezrikam, the officer over the house, and Elkanah, who was second to the sovereign. And the children of Israel took captive from their brothers 200,000 women, sons and daughters. And they also seized from them much spoil, and they brought the spoil to Shamaron. But a Nevi of Yahuah was there, whose name was Oded. And he went out before the army that came to Shamaron, and said to them, See, because Yahuah Elohim of your fathers was displeased with Yahudah, he has given them into your hand, and you have slain them in a rage that reaches up to the Shamayim. And now you are planning to make the children of Yahudah and Jerusalem your male and female slaves. But are you not also guilty before Yahuah your Elohim? Now therefore listen to me, and return the captives whom you have taken captive from your brothers, for the heat of the wrath of Yahuah is upon you. And some of the heads of the children of Ephraim, Azaryahu son of Yehochanan, Berechiahu son of Meshillemoth, and Yehezkiahu son of Shallum, and Amasa son of Hadlai, stood up against those who came from the army, and said to them, Do not bring the captives here to bring on us guilt before Yahuah. Are you planning to add to our sins and to our guilt? For our guilt is great, and burning is the wrath on Yisrael. And the armed men left the captives and the spoil before the leaders and all the assembly. And the men who were designated by name rose up and took the captives. And from the spoil they clothed all the naked among them, dressed them, and gave them sandals, and gave them food and drink, and anointed them, and let all the weak ones ride on donkeys, and brought them to their brothers at Jericho, the city of palm trees, then returned to Shamaron. At that time, sovereign Ahaz sent to the sovereigns of Ashur to help him, for the Edomites had come again and smote Yahudah and took away captives. And the Pelishtites invaded the cities of the low country and of the south of Yahudah, and captured Beth Shemesh and Ayalan and Gederoth and Soko with its villages, and Timnah with its villages, and Gimzo with its villages, and dwelt there. For Yahuah had brought Yahudah low because of Ahaz, sovereign of Yisrael, for he brought about a lack of restraint in Yahudah and trespassed against Yahuah. And Tiglath-Pileser, the sovereign of Ashur, came against him and distressed him and did not help him, though Ahaz had taken some of the treasures from the house of Yahuah, from the house of the sovereign, and from the leaders, and he gave it to the sovereign of Ashur, but he did not help him. And in the time of his distress, sovereign Ahaz trespassed even more against Yahuah, this sovereign Ahaz. And he slaughtered to the mighty ones of Damasek, those smiting him, saying, Because the mighty ones of the sovereigns of Aram help me, I offer to them, and they help me. But they were to cause him and all Yisrael to stumble. And Ahaz gathered the utensils of the house of Elohim, and cut in pieces the utensils of the house of Elohim, and shut the doors of the house of Yahuah, and made for himself altars in every corner of Jerusalem. And in every city, even the cities of Yahudah, he made high places to burn incense to other mighty ones, and provoked Yahuah, Elohim of his fathers. And the rest of his acts and all his ways, from first to last, see, they are written in the book of the sovereigns of Yahudah and Yisrael. So Ahaz slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city in Jerusalem, but they did not bring him into the tombs of the sovereigns of Yisrael. And Chizkiyahu his son reigned in his place.